Okay, you're flying along, beautiful day, and all of a sudden, your pilot passes out. Flaps over the controls.
33.2.
Flaps over the controls like that. So the best thing to do is first move him backwards so he can breathe and get away from the controls. And then take the shoulder harness, and at least one of them, put them over their shoulder, and then snap it in place. Two's good, but one will work. See, that'll help keep them away. Then you can hit them a few times because they passed out on you. So now you come over here. One of the first things you want to do is verify that your radio panel, which is this, matches the pilot's. So you look at their side, and you see where the lights are, right there. He's on number 2. Phelps is on number 2. So I want to make sure I'm on number 2. So now you want to make sure you can communicate to the air traffic control. In case the volume is turned down, what you want to do, if the button's in like this, you push it, bring it out, and just raise it up to at least the vertical position. That way you know that you definitely can hear them. Okay? And then you can leave it out or push it, it doesn't matter. Then you want to transmit and let them know that you have a problem.
Climbing 360.
So what you have to do to communicate is you've got to press this little switch here, this one here, and you slide it inboard to where it says mic. So when you slide it inboard, you will confirm on whichever radio you picked here, that up here you'll see a little mark, a TX number. See a little TX, those 2 letters that show up? So that indicates you are effectively transmitting. Then holding that button so that TX is there, you can say, Mayday, 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 my pilot's incapacitated, I'm a non-pilot, I need assistance. And then you let go of this button, because if you don't let go of this button, they can't talk to you, and you won't be able to hear them. If you don't hear from them in a few seconds, do it again. Press this inboard, and press and hold it. You'll see the TX there and say, Mayday, 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 my pilot's incapacitated, I need assistance. They'll ask you who you are if you haven't already told them. In this particular case, that's our number. We'd say citation number 93PE or Papa Echo. If you don't know the alphabet, don't worry about it. Just N93PE will work fine. Then once they communicate with you, now you've got it, and they'll give you some instructions. They'll ask how many people are on board, etc. They'll ask some information. Then what you want to be able to do is you can ask them for vectors to an airport with an ILS with a runway at least 5,000 feet long. Just make your life easier. And you'd like the vectors to have a final of at least 15 miles.
7711 West Coast 68.
So now what you have to do is you have to set up the plane so that the autopilot is operating off of your side rather than the pilot's. Right now, the autopilot controller, that's what this little guy is, will show the modes of the autopilot. In this particular case, it says nav, half bank, don't worry about that, and shows altitude. Over here, we call this the scoreboard. It also confirms that FMS1 is the same as nav for our purposes right now. Autopilot, YD just means the rudder, and that little arrow says it's operating off the left display in front of the pilot. We call those PFDs, primary flight displays, and it says altitude. So one of the first things you want to do is you see that little cyan bug there, the little blue turquoise bug? We want that bug to be right underneath the heading. So what you do is you just press the top of this button. Phelps is going to press the top of the heading that says heading. Press it. Just a second. And what that does, that sinks it. So now your heading is right underneath the front of your little arrow here. We're talking about the arrow layer. So it's right underneath below the green box. So now that you have that, what we want to do is transfer control of the autopilot from the pilot to your side. So it's pretty simple. We're going to change that arrow so it's pointed to the right. So on your center console, so on the center console right down here, you see these controls. One of the buttons says X, autopilot X for transfer.
November 236 Kilo Romeo.
So Phelps is going to push that transfer button. The light comes on, indicating that it's now in your control.
3646, contact Denver Center 132.
On your flight display now, see it flashes, says roll. We don't want roll. The arrow's in the right location, but we don't want roll. So we want to come here and put this in heading mode. So you just press this, and now you're in heading mode. And you'll notice in here, it'll say heading, autopilot, right side altitude. So now, at least you got the autopilot under your control. When the controller gives you a heading, you're going to change that heading bug to whatever heading he gives you. So let's say that he's going to say, okay, turn right to a heading of 270. Well, that's W here, or west. Or he tells you 300. So we're going to change some of that. So that heading knob that Phelps is turning now, right? See that turn right there? Right? That turns it left or right. As he turns it, you'll see it change. So if they give you 270, that's west. They give you 300, you turn it there. In between each one of those marks is 5 degrees. They tell you to turn left to 180. That's what you do. When you do that, the autopilot will follow that heading. That's how simple it is to change the autopilot from the pilot side under nav to your side under heading. Now in our example right here, don't worry about, you see the nav up there right now, simply because we're doing this in flight and we're listening to air traffic control and navigating. So I had to take it out of heading. But what will happen once you are on your heading, you seek that again as we press this. We'll make sure that on our side it says heading. So you always want to say heading. We just did that for demonstration purposes.
Below 38 in about 3 minutes or less.
If you try to contact air traffic control with a Mayday, and you don't hear anything from them, after 2 tries, if you don't, then you want to contact them on the emergency frequency. To do that, make sure that your green light is on this radio, the number 2. Then all you have to do is come over here and press this. EMER, it says EMER. What it will do is it will switch you to the emergency frequency, which is 121.5. You will now see 121.5 up in that frequency window. And then you can do the same thing. Come up to your control, slide this mic transmit button in, and then say the same thing. Mayday, citation November 93 Papa Echo. Pilot is incapacitated. I'm an unpilot, I need assistance. So that will send the information out across the universal emergency frequency. When they do that, then you'll get a response back. If they ask you to change frequencies, ask them that you want to stay on 121.5. It'll just make your life easier.
For now, if you're unable,
okay, so now we're going to change the frequency. Right, so on down here in the console, you see the button that says Tune D-Link. You press that. On the center display that pops up, you press Nav. On Nav, you go to the box that says RCL on the right for Nav 2. We have that frequency. We'll show you how we got that in the first place. And then Phelps is just going to type that in, 111.95, and then he's going to press the Enter key. When he does that, that's now selected for our pre-select. Now to make it active, Phelps will press that little button, the
Kilo Romeo,
there you go. Now that's active. Perfect. Now you have that set. So now to do that, now we're going to change how the autopilot navigates. So we're on our side, right? We got heading. So now we have to change that navigation. So you press this as FMS2, and all you have to do is go where it says VOR and localizer. And then press that little X, and get rid of it. So that is now our localizer frequency. Then what you have to do, and you'll get this information from the controller, both that frequency and also the inbound course. You have to ask them for the inbound course. Is you have to change where this little arrow is pointed. Below your display, you have a knob that says CRS. When he gives you the number that you want, the direction, you just dial it. Let's say he gives you 245. So you dial 245. So now you have set what we call the inbound course to the ILS for that airport. And again, you're still navigating by heading. You're still navigating, got that mode, but now you're set. You're all set for later on as you start your descent. So now to descend, if they ask you to descend, you have to change the altitude you're at. Right now it shows we're at flight level 410, 41,000 feet. When they give you a new altitude, you have to change it by the controls on the console. So that's the knob there, and you will dial that down or up as they tell you, and you'll see this, that will change. See how that changes? So now, as Phelps changes it, that changes the value. So if they tell you to go down to 250, you go down to 250. If they tell you to go down to 17,000, then you can dial in 17 on this, or 16, whatever value give you. If you see the FL, we'll show you how to change that in a moment.